Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and there's quite a bit to talk about today. First of all, the Washington football team signed a fullback. It's been a minute since we've done that, and generally when you look around the league, there's probably only like 6 to 8 of them left in the league, period. So this is really interesting. First of all, it shows that we are committed to the run game, but there's also some extra factors on top of that as well that we have to definitely discuss, which leads me to the injury report. Of course, it's Thursday, so I have to give y'all an injury update, and I'm giving y'all an update for both sides, both the Washington football team and the Raiders, who may or may not play this Sunday. This is a big game for us. 4-game win streak heading into the game against Dallas at home in Maryland is going to be huge. We're currently the 7th seed in the NFC right now for the playoffs. If it were to start today, you got to continue winning to hold on to that playoff spot, because we're technically tied with a lot of teams record wise. One loss sends us right back to the bottom. Also, is Red Wolves almost confirmed not going to happen? There's a big update that's come out about it, and me as a Red Wolves fan, I'm a little sad to hear about it. We're definitely going to talk about that. And then of course, there's a lot of crazy stats to discuss. There's always crazy stats every week, and I try to make sure I at least have one video per week dedicated literally just to crazy stats, because a lot of them are really interesting, especially on our end, and how we're so elite in certain ways that a lot of people, maybe not even Washington football team fans, have realized or have noticed. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Also, make sure you check out the rest of the channel. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. And man, I'm so excited, man. My Georgia Bulldogs play Alabama in the SEC championship, and my Burgundy and Gold play the Raiders, bruh. I need both of these games to result in wins, man. I'm excited. A great weekend of football ahead. Let's get it. All right, so we got to start with the fullback. The Washington football team has signed fullback Alex Armah to his practice squad. So he's not even on the 53-man roster. So he may not even play against the Raiders. He may not have an impact, but we're going to assume that he'll impress in practice and may actually go and play against the Raiders and be active and actually get some snaps. We'll see. But of course, Armah was drafted by the Panthers in 2017. Another Washington Panther right there. Add him to the list of already like 40 players, personnel, staff, coaches. It's about 40 or 50 of them, man, and Alex is one of them. So far he's played 66 career games, including 9 this season. So it's not even like this guy just has barely played. He's coming here inexperienced. This guy has not only played, but he's played for the Panthers while Scott Turner was there, Rivera was there, so he knows what they expect out of him. And he was recently just waived off of the Saints roster. He was just on that 53-man roster, but at the same time he was inactive just this past week, so they weren't really using them much anyway. Even with Alex Kamara inactive and Mark Ingram inactive, they still had Alex inactive. Again, he's a fullback, not a running back, but that's still crazy. So he was inevitably waived by the Saints, and we picked him up a day later. And this makes a lot of sense, because Scott Turner is finally starting to lean on the run like a lot of us have been asking him to do all year. You can see the signs that we had a developing run game, because we would run the ball effectively against pretty much everybody all year, but Scott Turner would just stop running the ball. It wasn't even like the opposing team stopped us. We would just stop running because Scott Turner stopped calling the plays. Now, granted, some of those we fell far behind immediately because our defense was just out here giving up points to everybody. But then also, even some closer games, Scott Turner just got away from the run, and I'm glad that he's finally getting back to it. And this whole situation is just crazy just off of the fact that, again, fullbacks are almost an endangered species at this point. Remember the days of Darryl Young? And the last time Washington has had a fullback was Michael Burton, I believe back in like 2019, and I'm not even sure if he played or not, but he was definitely on the roster. But I think this signing matters the most because, of course, like, we need him to run the ball, but also to pass the ball. Mkissic looks like he's definitely slated to not play against the Raiders with him recovering from a concussion. And Mkissic is our best pass blocking running back right now. Antonio Gibson has improved, and Jared Patterson isn't necessarily bad, but Mkissic was easily our best pass blocking back. And so Armah is quite likely to be elevated onto the 53-man roster and be active against the Raiders, at least for that. Again, we're trying to lean on the run game more, but you still need a running back that can block in the passing game. That's really big for us. And then, of course, I'm a fan of Alex Armah because he's from Gwinnett. So if him, Taylor Heineke, and Antonio Gibson are on the field at the same time, that's 3 guys from Georgia, from right outside of Atlanta, all on the field at the same time, helping my favorite NFL team to win. That makes me happy. 3 Georgia guys in the backfield out there leading the Washington football team to victories and hopefully a playoff spot. And you never know, maybe he goes out there and impresses heavily, and then he becomes like a permanent part of this team, even when JD McKissic is healthy, Antonio Gibson and Jared Patterson are still healthy. Maybe he earns himself a permanent role on this team moving forward. We'll see. Again, it's kind of like replacing Joey Slye with Brian Johnson. That's a good problem to have if the replacement guy, the temporary answer, balls out to the point that you have a good problem moving forward, trying to figure out exactly who you want to keep and who you want to play and all of that type of stuff. That's best case scenario. Now, speaking of JD McKissic, let's get to the injury report between both teams. As far as the Washington football team, we had 5 players not participating in practice today. You had Landon Collins with a foot injury, Ereck Flowers with a very recent foot injury because he wasn't even on the injury report yesterday. This foot injury is very recent, like today. Then you had JD McKissic, of course, with his concussion, Wes Schweitzer with an ankle, and Benjamin St-Juste with his continued complications with a concussion injury. And then limited, you had Antonio Gibson, per usual, Tyler Larson, which is a good sign, Curtis Samuel and Brandon Sheriff, and Logan Thomas, of course, and then Ricky Seals-Jones, which is also a good sign. Both Ricky Seals-Jones and Tyler Larson didn't even play against the Seahawks. So the fact that they're limited in practice and not even in the did not participate area shows that there's a lot of progress there, and they may be able to go against the Raiders. We'll see. I mean, it's crazy that we're hoping that our backup center, our second string center, can go, because we're to the point that even our third string center is hurt in Wes Schweitzer, who's technically supposed to be our second string guard. I mean, we're just all over the place. Shouts out to John Moskow, bruh, our offensive line coach, man. He deserves a raise because what he's doing with this offensive line. We're gonna take a look at some of those crazy stats a little later, because man, I'm telling you, our offensive line is playing like a top 5 offensive line, and with how many times we've had to shuffle it around, how many different starting offensive line combinations we've had, we have to be leading the league in the least consistent offensive line starting rotation. Speaking of offensive line, Ereck Flowers now isn't participating in practice again, like I already talked about. At least while the media was able to view the practice, he was not participating at all. And again, he wasn't even on the injury report yesterday, so this had to have been like a recent injury, a sudden one from today. So we'll have to definitely keep an eye on that moving forward. Because, I mean, this is technically a short week. They have 6 days instead of 7 days to prepare. And, man, if Ereck Flowers can't play, that's going to hurt us a lot, man. We really need him. You could definitely argue he's been our best offensive lineman this season on a top 5 offensive line. Also, as far as Benjamin St-Juste goes, again, he hasn't played a defensive snap in weeks. I think he's played a little bit of special teams, but that concussion injury must really be bothering him. And at the same time, since Danny Johnson has moved to the inside and Kendall Fuller's been back to the outside, our secondary's been looking really good. And maybe they don't want to ruin the momentum. They don't want to fix something that's not broken, I guess. Even though Benjamin St-Juste, before the concussion injuries, was our most consistent corner, our secondary's playing better without him as of right now. So that's something really interesting to keep track of. Also, we would love to have Chase Young and Montez Sweat back, but this Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, and Shaka Toney thing has been working very well. First of all, because they've been very disciplined. They are not playing hero ball. They're doing exactly what they're assigned to do, and sacks are coming to them. That's what's supposed to happen. Just handle your responsibility. Jonathan Allen's going to get through the middle. He's out here beating double teams. And then there's going to be those moments like Shaka Toney saw against the Seahawks where a sack is going to literally come to you for the most part. You just have to do what you got to do. You don't even have to do anything necessarily spectacular. You're going to get your moments. Also, Casey Toohill, with his ability to actually like drop back in coverage with a straight face, has really helped us, and it's allowing Jack Del Rio to disguise blitzes. So this is really interesting. And then, of course, Curtis Samuel, definitely got to give an update on that. Overall, he said that he feels good and he's only getting healthier. No setbacks. Like when he played against the Falcons, he definitely had a setback, and that's why we hadn't seen him until Monday against the Seahawks. After this game, and he even played more snaps in this game than against the Falcons, but it seems like his groin injury is actually healed quite well and he's ready to keep moving forward and keep playing, getting the ball more and all of that type of stuff, becoming more involved in the offense. He also spoke about how he bounced up immediately after taking his first hit. He said that he wanted to, quote, show the crowd that I'm still here, unquote. And I like that. I like the fact that he lowered his shoulder to get a couple of more yards and then he popped right back up so that the fans can cheer him on and see that he's fully healthy, he's good to go. No setbacks. And Curtis Samuel also spoke about how the injection has helped him feel much better. He said, quote, much better. I felt like I was able to cut and do so much more without pain. That helped a lot. It gave me the confidence to go out there, unquote. He also said, quote, that was actually one of the first times I was able to go in there without thinking about what it was going to be like if I made a cut. So that Seahawks game is the first time all season that he feels like he's been able to just play and not think about, oh man, what if I do this and I re-hurt my groin, I re-aggravate it, or if I cut too hard, if I change direction too quickly, all of that type of stuff. That game against the Seahawks was the first game he didn't have stuff like that in the back of his mind. That's huge. Curtis Samuel also said, looking back at his tape, he was pleased with his reps. And when talking about the running game, he said that if he can make a key block that helps spring a teammate, he'd be just as happy as if he would if he made the play. And I love that mentality. Can't wait for Curtis Samuel to get back 100% because he's going to be huge for us. Again, like I've been saying, the silver lining to a lot of our injuries is that younger guys further down on the depth chart are getting meaningful snaps and improving because of it. DeAndre Carter literally looks like a wide receiver too now. We're starting to see a little bit of Dax Milne, some more Adam Humphries. With Logan Thomas and Ricky Seals-Jones hurt, look at John Bates developing right in front of our eyes. With all of the injuries to the offensive line, I mean, we're searching deep and we're finding out that guys can do more than we even thought they could. I mean, Wes Schweitzer has shown in his 2 years of being here that he can start at left guard, start at center, and start at right guard and do a very good job at either three positions. Cornelius Lucas has shown us over the past 2 years that he can start at left tackle for an entire season and then start at right tackle for half of the next season, and our offensive line still looks like a top 5 unit. And these are all depth guys. All of these guys are supposed to be coming off the bench, but they're starting and they're doing very well at their starting positions in multiple spots on top of all of that. Now, before we leave the injuries, have to update y'all on the Raiders injury report. They haven't updated their Thursday one yet, but as far as Wednesday goes, defensive end Carl Nassib, linebacker Patrick Onwuasor, and tight end Darren Waller did not participate in practice on Wednesday. I have Darren Waller in my fantasy league. I'm letting y'all know now, it looks like he's very unlikely to play this week, which sucks for me in fantasy, but it's great for me as a burgundy and gold fan, which is more important. And then Deshaun Jackson, of course, the wide receiver, linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski, and cornerback Keyshawn Nixon were all limited on Wednesday. And then they have an entire list of 5 guys that were full participants on Wednesday, so they look like they are really good to go. So I'm not even exactly sure why they're on the injury report because they look like they're good to go. I forgot the Raiders had Zay Jones. That's crazy. With all the craziness and chaos that he had to deal with while he was on the Bills. Forgot he was in the league, honestly. But even Deshaun Jackson, who was limited in practice Wednesday, I think he's good to go as well. So I think the majority of their team is going to be ready to go. I think Darren Waller may be one of the very few guys who doesn't play, but that's a huge loss for them. Now moving on to the sad news about the Red Wolves. Well, at least sad for me and quite a few people out there. I think the majority of the fan base, honestly. But it's been reported that Rick Snyder said on the Junkies morning show that the Timberwolves, and that hurts me too because that's my favorite team to watch in the NBA right now. I'm not a fan of the Timberwolves per se. I'm just a big Ant fan. I went from AI to Westbrook to Ant. You know, Ant from Southwest Atlanta. So like I watch pretty much every Timberwolves game that I can. So that hurts to see that they're possibly the reason that the Washington football team may not be able to get the Red Wolves name because they own all of the Wolves trademarks right now, apparently, which means like the only way we could possibly work around this is if we use nicknames for sales, maybe. I don't know. But at the same time, the Timberwolves wouldn't necessarily be able to stop anybody from using the nickname unless they use it themselves. But I mean, at the end of the day, both Jason Wright and Tanya Snyder have both publicly said that they don't want to deal with a lengthy legal battle or process in court when it comes to picking this new name. Like they want to be able to just start clean and have no issues moving forward. So it sounds like Red Wolves is highly unlikely moving forward. Again, I'm gonna be a fan of the team no matter what the name is, but please don't pick anything stupid, I beg you. And then lastly, we got to get to a lot of these crazy and random stats. First of all, Washington's last drive against the Seahawks was their 25th this season of 10 plays or more, which is the 5th most in the NFL. Shouts out to Scott Turner for that and the offensive line. Also, Washington's 41 minute 40 seconds time of possession against the Seahawks on Monday night was their longest time of possession in a single game since 1984. Also, the Washington football team went undefeated in November, and that's my birthday month, so y'all can thank me for that. I'm taking all of the credit for that. I don't care. But this is the first time that the Washington football team has gone undefeated in November since 2001. Also, we were the only team in the entire NFL this season to go undefeated in November. We were the only ones that ran November. Also, in the last 5 games, Washington's defense ranks 8th in points allowed and 4th in yards allowed. They are 21st on third downs overall, but in the last 4 games, they're 12th on third downs and 6th in passing yards allowed per game. This is literally what we expected from them to start the season off, but I mean, it was a very slow start. Both offense and defense. Actually, offense kind of came out slanging, and then they kind of took a step back, and now they're starting to get their groove back. But defense just completely started terrible, and it's just basically been getting better each week. And now these last few games, they've been playing near elite. Also, one of the main reasons we're gonna miss J.D. Mkissic, a lot of people don't know, but J.D. Mkissic leads all running backs in the NFL in receptions since 2020. He has 123. Alvin Kamara is second with 115. Austin Eckler is third with 105, and the Georgia Bulldog DeAndre Swift is 4th with 102. Also, Jonathan Allen generated 4 pressures on his last 13 pass rush snaps against the Seahawks on Monday night. That is crazy. 4 out of 13. And he is now 3rd among interior defensive linemen with 38 total pressures. Easily a Pro Bowler. Definitely has an argument for at least some level of All-Pro. Also, Seth Walder on Twitter tweeted out the win rates for right tackles, pass block, and run block. And both Cornelius Lucas and Samuel Cosmi are an elite company for either one. Like, Cornelius Lucas is 3rd in run block win rate and top 10 in pass block win rate. And then Samuel Cosmi is 2nd in run block win rate. So with Cornelius Lucas, you get slightly less effective run blocking, but better pass blocking. And Samuel Cosmi was getting better and better. He struggled in the beginning. So once he gets back healthy and he's back the starter, I'm confident in him improving on his pass blocking ability. And also at the same time, you know how people chart the offensive line and compare them for ESPN and Pro Football Focus with the win rates from ESPN and the grades from Pro Football Focus? Well, if you're looking at offensive line and defensive line, 4 charts: pass protection, run blocking, run defense, and pass rush defense, the Rams, the Eagles, and the Washington football team are the elite of the elite. So our defensive line is finally doing what they were supposed to do, even though we're missing Chase Young and Montez Sweat, 2 first-round picks and back-to-back drafts. And our offensive line has been one of the most hurt offensive lines in the NFL, and they're still going out there and playing at an elite level. And speaking of the offensive line coach John Moskow said that he cares about his players. He teaches the game itself, and he also teaches some things about life. He assigns his players a book each year, and they have to read specific chapters and write a report on it. And I mean, I'm not exactly sure how that's helping, but it's working. We have a top 5 offensive line, again, with one of the most hurt offensive lines in the NFL. So hey, I think everybody needs to pick up a book on this entire team, the defense, offense, everybody, because if that's what's working, everybody needs to do it. Also, Antonio Gibson is leading all running backs for carries in the last 3 weeks. He has 72. Jonathan Taylor's going crazy with 69. And Joe Mixon, another running back I love coming out of the draft, has 58. Also, I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but I've mentioned this before. Taylor Heinicke earns $125,000 for every game that he plays in that we win. So if anybody's motivated to lead us to this playoff run and lead us to winning this division, is Taylor Heinicke. He literally gets paid an extra $125,000 every time he leads us to a victory. And then let's look at the Raiders a little bit. Bad news for the Washington football team. Raiders quarterback Derek Carr has thrown the most passes of 20 air yards or more with 54 this season. And he's completed 25, which only trails Josh Allen by 1 for the most in the NFL this season. So boy, we got to watch out for that deep attack. Bobby McCain, you need to be on it this Sunday. But good news for the Washington football team. The Raiders defense over the last 3 games has allowed the most points per game with 35.3, the most yards per game with 413.7, and the most passing yards per game with 308. Period. Like, out of the entire NFL, they're literally the worst in all 3 of those statistics. And then lastly, the Washington football team added 2 new executives to its business operations. Trista Langdon is now the SVP of operations and guest experience, and Melanie Mattia is now the VP of marketing operations. So just to update y'all on every little thing that's going on with the Washington football team. Y'all know how I do. But that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. It was a lot. I thought this video was going to be quicker than this. I've ended up talking for about 30 minutes. When I edit it, maybe it's gonna go down to 20. I guess we'll see. I mean, y'all already know by the time you reach this point in the video, but I'm interested in seeing how far I cut this down. I ended up talking way longer than I thought I would. I just finished recording. It's 4:08 p.m. So let's see how long it takes for me to edit this video. I'm about to get to it right now. But of course, like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Also, appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to everybody that pulls up to the streams and donates, man. Again, appreciate all of the birthday wishes, man. I really appreciate all of y'all, and a special shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now. Again, I'll catch y'all later. I appreciate y'all. I'm out.